Yo, what's good, YTBC? What's good, fight fans, boxing heads around the world? B Marsh with another boxing video. So I'm back at it one more time, man, with the series, with my series of fights we never got to see. And this is basically a breakdown of fights we never got to see as boxing fans throughout the years of history in boxing. And I think this the first one I'm doing for the new year. The last one I did, it's been a while, man. I think the last one I did was in 2016, and that was Bernard Hopkins versus what's my guy from Namibia's name? The Terminator, Harry Simon. That's a fight we didn't get to see as boxing fans. Well, I'm back at it for the new year, man. This year we're gonna do Azumah Nelson versus Barry Mcguigan. Okay, this fight should have happened at featherweight. I think around by the year 1985. You know what I'm saying? Around 85, maybe early 86. And this was a fight we never got to see as boxing fans, and it's a damn shame, man, because this fight right here would have been actually, I think, till today would be a fight we'd still be talking about as one of the best fights probably in boxing history. Then, man, I just believe that, it would be a big platform for a guy like Azumah Nelson, considering that the man, Barry Mcguigan, he had a massive fan base out there in Ireland. He was a guy who, even united the country, Northern Ireland and Ireland, who were warring at the time, going to war. Is a man who basically bridged the gap between Protestants and Christians in Ireland. So this man was a big icon in Ireland at the time. He did big numbers on television, on TV broadcasts. And Barry Mcguigan, man, the guy's in the Hall of Fame. That's debatable in my opinion. But from them factors I mentioned, bringing and bridging Ireland together, and especially in the time when they were going through turmoil, and just being basically the Irish spokesman and ambassador for the world in boxing. These are probably the reasons why he is in the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota, New York. But this video right here is about a fight we never got to see, and that's Azumah Nelson versus Barry Mcguigan. So let's get into it, you know what I mean? And, this is a fight, man, right here, which, I think, for what it's worth, man, it would have been a great fight if we got to see it, you know what I mean? And, a lot of people might ask me why I didn't do Azumah Nelson had numerous guys he could have fought, you know what I mean? And numerous guys he could have fought up in at featherweight, you know what I'm saying? And even at super featherweight, man, there's guys like Julio Cesar Chavez, he never got to fight. There's guys like what's his name? What's my guy's name from Africa? Brian Mitchell, we never got to see that fight, you know what I mean? So, there's numerous fights we never got to see, man. Azumah Nelson was a tough fighter, man, And, this fight, man, would have probably, like I said, happened in 85, 86. But, the man, Azumah Nelson became a featherweight champ when he knocked out the great Wilfredo Gomez in Puerto Rico, you know what I'm saying? He knocked this man out, man, in devastating fashion, man. Damn near, he really hurt the guy bad, you know what I mean? So Azumah Nelson, he had, a great ATG on his resume when he beat him. And, he also took Salvador Sanchez some years earlier for that same WBC belt he was trying to fight for, that he contended for, with very few fights, man. It was supposed to be a layup fight for the man, Salvador Sanchez, man. But this guy, Azumah Nelson, took him to hell and back, you know what I mean? You check it, and Azumah Nelson has eventually lost that fight with a late stoppage, I think, in the final round 14 or 15 of that fight. But Azumah Nelson, man, was a great man. And, the man, Barry Mcguigan, he himself was now even at the top in the pound for pound list when he beat the great Eusebio Pedrosa, one of the best featherweights of all time. He beat Eusebio Pedrosa, he was from Panama, you know what I mean? He was a long-time reigning champion with that WBA belt, you know what I mean, at featherweight. And he came over to England, London, if I'm not mistaken. It was in one of those soccer stadiums. I don't remember if it was Crystal Palace or who. And that's where they had the fight at, you know what I mean? And between Eusebio Pedrosa and Barry Mcguigan, a fight that attracted at least shit, man. That fight had like, as far as viewership, I know the stadium was sold out, you know what I mean? But as far as viewership, man, that fight had almost like millions and millions. I want to say something like 28 to 30 million people who watched that fight worldwide, you know what I mean? You would ask, some of y'all might have never even heard of these guys I mentioned, Eusebio Pedroza and and Barry Mcguigan, you know what I'm saying? But that fight attracted a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Had a lot of people watched that fight, you know, and that's why it's an iconic win for Barry Mcguigan, you know, beating a long-time pound-for-pound guy on his, having him on his resume, you know, a guy who almost seemed invincible. And Barry Mcguigan took care of the guy, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's how the man Pedroza at that time was on the pound for pound list, at least no lower than number 4, okay? And obviously, you know how it goes. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And that's how Barry Mcguigan, he himself, ended up on the pound for pound list at number 6, if I'm not mistaken, you know what I mean? So, you check it. Azumah Nelson feeling, okay, now we got a player in the division, all right? A new guy who's now on the pound for pound list, and of course Azumah Nelson thinks he can beat the man. So he's like, fuck it, let's do this, you know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and make this fight happen, you know what I mean? And you know, that's how it's supposed to be done, man. He's supposed to call out the what you call it? You know, call out the guy on the pound for pound list because he feels he could beat him, you know what I mean? And yeah, here's some highlights of the man. That's actually the highlights of Pedroza versus Barry Mcguigan right there, man. It was a great fight, man. You know, the man, Barry Mcguigan, man, he came to fight that night, man. He was destined to win that championship world title belt the way he fought, you know. And big ups to him, man, because this was, you know, it was one of those, his iconic fight that he's mostly known for, you know what I mean? You check it. I was surprised when I seen this fight, man. I didn't watch it live back in the G, man. I was a baby, but you know, when I seen this fight numerous times, I was just surprised at how the man Barry Mcguigan, he nullified and neutralized the man Pedroza, especially with this, you know, with his punches and bunches and those going to the body, and you know, he was just a tough fighter. You know what I mean? He brought his lunch pail to work every day. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so this fight, that's the reason why I say these two should have fought, you know what I mean? And you guys might have remembered, what's his name, Azumah Nelson, and if you've never seen, he knocked out a guy by the name of Pat Cowdell. He went out to England to fight the guy Pat Cowdell, and man, he knocked this dude out in one round with a devastating kind of uppercut, man, a devastating uppercut. I might have the footage somewhere, man, if you guys never seen it, you know what I'm saying? Let me play this shit one time for y'all, man.
I came in to knock him out in the first round. You know, man, that's what I make my mind. Because the people here they didn't treat us good. You know, they're making all kind of ways to.
This is a hilarious interview. Listen to Azumah.
That's right. You know, I came in to knock him out in the first round. You know, man, that's what I make my mind. Because the people here they didn't treat us good. You know, they're making all kind of ways to get the title from us. I want to prove to them I'm the best in the world. And I want Bacano, I want Mcguigan, that girl. And I will knock him out anywhere I'm fighting. I'm ready to fight Mcguigan anytime, any day in the world. I'm ready. This is my national flag. I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of Africa. You know, man.
Can I ask you, sorry to cut in there, but we would like to know about that punch, because Pat Cowdell has never been knocked out in his time, and we're going to show you that punch, and perhaps you could explain to everybody watching on ITV the tremendous power that stopped Pat Cowdell for the first time.
Well, I thought Bacano will move around from me. You know, as soon as the bell go on, he just comes straight to me. And I said, okay, that's the way I'm going to knock him out in the first round. So I take my time and he start using the jabs. You know, I start bobbing it, you know, and I got him with it. Go left uppercut.
Very good left uppercut. Let me ask you, let me let Gabe talk through this again. There we go. Different angle.
When he start jabbing, you know, you know, man, I'm too bad, baby.
Yeah, we won. power. We're very proud of Barry McGuigan in this country.
Hey, like I said before, Mcguigan is good, and it's a fighter. The way Mcguigan fight, there's no way Mcguigan can beat me. There's no way Mcguigan can go 4 rounds with me. Because of my power. I got my power, I got experience, I got everything too much more than Mcguigan. And I want him, that girl, I call her girl because she don't want to fight me. She's scared of me. She know who I am, and what I can do. I know the trainers, his trainers don't want to fight. You know, I took the title from a young man. And the old man who was to challenge me, hey, I'm okay here.
I didn't get a word in mind to say thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
We want it.
Well, there you are. I tell you, they really
So
made
you
it
see,
fun.
you see,
What a good
you
fight.
see how the man,
Politics came out there.
what's his name? You know how the man Azumah Nelson knocked out Barry Mcguigan in that Pat Cowdell character in London in the UK in devastating fashion. When the man, I'm sure Barry Mcguigan, when he seen that, man, the man wanted no parts of the man Azumah Nelson, you know what I mean? And plus, you know, Barry McGuigan's handlers, man, they were making big money off of the guy, you know what I'm saying? Lots of money off of Barry McGuigan, you know, he was bringing in lots of dough. And, you know, they handlers, man, weren't going to risk putting Barry McGuigan in with this tough guy, the professor from Africa, from Ghana, you know what I'm saying? Because this guy was a devastating puncher. You know, it was a guy who was going to bring the pain to Barry McGuigan regardless. So that fight right there was out of the question, you know what I'm saying? And eventually the man, Barry McGuigan, I think he might have been in his first title defense. He came to Las Vegas and he fought a guy by the name of Cruz. What was his name? Damn, what was his name? Ah, shit. Steve Cruz, yes. Steve Cruz was the guy. And this guy, man, they fought in the hot, sweltering sun out there in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, man. And the guy got beat up, man. The man, Barry McGuigan, got beat up, man. I think he got knocked out twice in round 15. You know, he just gassed out and he lost his title, man. And, you know, they had a common opponent, a guy by the name of Jim McDonald. I think the guy was from England. A guy Azumah Nelson fought. I think it was after. I think Barry McGuigan fought the guy. Barry McGuigan got knocked out in 4 rounds by the man Jim McDonald. You know what I mean? A common opponent. Okay. And while the man what's his name, Azumah Nelson knocked this guy out. I think he stopped him in like the 12th round, you know what I mean? That Jim McDonald character, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, Azumah Nelson, in my opinion, how would the fight look? I think Azumah Nelson would be the aggressive guy, you know, even though the man Barry McGuigan is an aggressive fighter, you know what I'm saying? A come forward guy, you know, who's like I said, a guy who brings a hard worker, brings his lunch pail to work every day, you know what I mean? But I don't think the man Azumah Nelson would be deterred or would be backing up from the man Barry McGuigan, you know what I'm saying? I believe the man Azumah Nelson packed a harder punch, you know what I'm saying? And I think he himself, you know, he'd have that you know, that kind of cross defense, that cross-face defense, you know what I mean? And he'd be protecting himself, good head movement, you know what I'm saying? But eventually I think he'd be countering this guy to death, you know what I'm saying, Barry McGuigan. And Barry McGuigan would just fold, man, because he'd be taking numerous punishment, you know what I mean? He'd be getting hit in the face and, you know, I don't think he could take them type of punches for 12 rounds, you know what I mean? And I believe the man Azumah Nelson would stop Barry McGuigan. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that's why they didn't take the fight, because they knew the professor is just, he's an all-time great, while the man, Barry McGuigan, was just a good fighter at his best, you know what I mean? A guy who did beat Eusebio Pedrosa, a great fighter on the pound-for-pound list, and that's eventually how Barry McGuigan ascended into the pound-for-pound list, and that was only right that Azumah Nelson wanted a piece of that pie to get on the pound-for-pound list, which didn't take him long, because after Barry McGuigan lost, Azumah Nelson was on the pound-for-pound list from like 86 to the mid-90s, you know what I'm saying? I want to say to like at least early 93, 94 them times, you know what I mean? Until he had them wars with Jesse James Lehi, you know? But this would have been a great fight, ladies and gents, you know what I'm saying? If I had to pick a winner, I think Azumah Nelson would win this fight by late round stoppage, you know, somewhere between 8th and 9th round, you know what I mean? And I just think Barry Mcguigan wasn't on the level of the great Azumah Nelson, you know what I'm saying? So let me know in the comment section what you think about this fight, and let me know who you guys would pick to win this fight, Barry Mcguigan or Azumah Nelson, all right? B-Marsh Boxing. Thanks again for listening. You know what I'm saying? This was a good, fun video to do. You know, I've been meaning to do this vid from a long time. And I'm glad I finally got the chance. All right? B-Marsh Boxing. I'm going to catch you on the next vid. Let me know who you guys think going to win in the comments section. All right? Peace.